Welcome to We, the platform that seeks to educate through play. My name is Dabla-Attikpo, and I will be your host for today's episode titled West Africa. My esteemed guests, of course, include Dabla-Attikpo, curator and founder of the Snowy Arts, all the way from Togo and Benin, currently based in Ghana at the hair salon. And alongside her is Naomi Edobor, who is currently working as the manager and curator at the newly opened Affinity Art Gallery in Lagos, Nigeria. Ladies, thank you so much again for dedicating your time to this episode. This episode will be divided into 3 sections. The first is the collective experience, then the second is branding as cultural work, and then finally, popular culture. Each section will have 10 minutes for me to ask the question and for you to answer, with 2 questions per theme. And at the end of the episode, you will each get a chance to reveal which cultural organization you will be donating to in exchange for your participation. Before we get into the thick of the conversation, let me share a precious memory of how we all met. It will be just over a year since we first met. Crazy how time flies. We were all participants in the inaugural Macabre boot camp in Morocco. Naomi and I were roommates for the first few nights on the program, and Esse was my roommate when we moved to the university. So an icebreaker question to start us off. You will each have 30 seconds to answer. The question is, if you were not doing what you are doing right now, what career path would you have chosen? Naomi, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I wasn't sure what I was doing right now. I feel like I would be a collector, traveling the world, collecting art, curating experiences, which still boils down to the work that I currently do. So I do feel like I would still be curating, but I don't think that I would be doing it professionally. So it would be a hobby for me or something that I enjoy doing. So curating experiences, collecting works, and just basically traveling, experiencing different cultures and things like that. So I think that's what I would be doing if I wasn't professionally working as a curator. Yeah.
Hello. That's a good question. I also love traveling, and so I think I would be doing something that allows me to travel. But I also love music and social media. So maybe if there was a position like maybe a social media manager or communication manager for an art center but abroad. So like I would be in charge of the communication and social media for maybe a concert venue but in another country. Yeah, something like that, I think.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I think we all have the traveling bug within us, because I definitely would be doing some traveling of some kind as well. So now that we know what we would be doing, let us take a look at what we are currently doing. So this will be the start of our first theme, titled The Collective Experience. So the idea of the culture worker has really resonated with me for a long time, inside and outside of academic institutions. I'm always humbled by the ability to learn from others. Thus, teaching in the form of academic tutoring, facilitating short course workshops, and curriculum building independently with high schools in and around Cape Town has been one of my greatest opportunities of learning. Engaging with students of all ages, races, places has really nurtured my ability to interact, listen, learn, and value working with people. In commemorating the title, Welcome to we being cultural workers, we being museum staff, we being the directors of the cultural spaces that we run, I would like you to share why you do what you do as a cultural worker. You will each have 3 minutes to answer this question. Esse, would you like to go first?
Okay, I've been surrounded by artists. My dad is a writer, my big brother is a DJ, rapper, etc. So, and I have an auntie who is a fashion designer. So I've always seen PhDs around me. But I also always see that they seem to kind of struggle to juggle, to have to handle the creative process and everything that goes through, the deep thinking, but and also like marketing and promoting themselves and just handling some stuff like admin and all. So I try as much as possible to assist with those aspects that are. I believe that artists should just be able to focus on creating and producing the content that we are consuming and enjoying, and they shouldn't have to handle all the other aspects. So I hope that I'm helping that area, like to help them to do what is boring or annoying for them. So I think that's why I took what I'm doing, just to try and help, and also maybe to help to have a better understanding, because there's so many people who still don't really understand what art is, or what, at least contemporary art, African contemporary art. So I hope that I'm also contributing to bringing a better understanding, as well as bridging the gap. Me myself, I'm from so many various identities. Like I've been born and raised in France, but I'm originally from Togo and Benin, and now I'm in Ghana. So I hope that what I'm doing is also bridging the gap and bringing people together from all those various countries or areas. Yeah.
Can you repeat that last part? So you've always been interested in creating, I guess, experiences for other people. Yeah.
So I've always been interested in creating professionally. I've always just focused on making sure that artists are able to create works that speak to themselves. So art for self-expression and also for advocacy, because I feel like those are the two things that I'm really drawn to. Making sure that we're saying something with the works that we're creating, and making sure that these works are also things that we want to do, because most of the time people just focus on making sure that artists are creating works that cater to the public, but sometimes you also want artists to be able to create works that cater to themselves, and things like that. So I think that that's the focal point of my practice professionally, and of course making sure that everyone is able to do the work that really, really makes them happy and just makes them thrive in different areas of their life. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's really nothing greater than self-expression, and then further than that self-expression that goes and helps the environment and the people and the community that that you belong to, and it's important that art reflects the times, as Nina Simone would say. So moving on to our next question. On the screen, we are looking at a picture of the curator, art practitioner, and global arts contributor to contemporary African arts as a whole, the late B.C. Silver. It'll be exactly a year and a week since the late and great B.C. Silver has left us here on earth and transitioned. May her soul rest in eternal peace. However, I believe it goes without saying that her legacy and contribution to contemporary African arts will be cherished for decades. As a leader who pioneered arts organizations such as Center for Contemporary Arts in Lagos, and her dedication to arts mentorships can be seen through her participation and promotion of arts programs such as Asiko Arts School, where artists, curators, and cultural workers could engage in seminars and workshops and exhibitions, all in the name of developing their careers. As the curator and founder of Welcome to We, I am truly inspired by her legacy in arts education and continue to walk in her light. And I believe, the answers that you've both shared in the first question really link us and direct us quite nicely into the second question. And because this question is, it requires a little bit more time and requires a little bit more thinking from us, I will allocate 5 minutes per person. The question is, how do you incorporate community in your practice? Naomi, I know you just went, but do you want to start us off?
Okay, so I think that one way that I've been able to do that is making sure that exhibitions are accessible to everybody. I see myself as an exhibition maker, and sometimes exhibitions are not just for collectors. I believe that art is for everyone. So making sure that the community where you are, the community where, not just the community where your gallery is, but basically the community that is around you. So when I say the community around you, that means that your gallery is in Nigeria. So I'm going to use Nigeria in my in my analogy because I live in Nigeria.
Of course.
So your gallery is in a part of Nigeria. It's in Lagos. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to basically cater to artists that live in Lagos alone, or you have to basically cater to artists that live in a certain part of Lagos alone. I believe that the major aim of what your gallery is, and that's different for everybody, but if your space is catered to making sure that artists can create works and they can live off the works that they create, then your major point is to make sure that these artists are living that life as they should be living. So making sure that art is available to everyone, art is for everyone, the exhibitions are accessible to everyone, collectors, even children. So currently in the gallery we have the master's floor that's dedicated to showing the artists to showing the works from master artists like Bruce Onobramaya, Tony Enebeli, Rufus Ogin, most of them are Nigerian artists anyway. But making sure that space is kept the way it is for educational purposes, because you also have to make sure that children, I am in this role, and I'm, even without the formal education that we don't have in Nigeria for curators and everybody outside of artists in our tertiary institutions, I'm able to operate in this level and operate in this role because I've been fortunate to visit museums and see works of people as well, and all of those things. So making sure that we're not letting that culture die, making sure that we keep that running as we can, as much as we can, making sure that children are able to come into galleries and see works, it strikes a chord in their heads and they remember these things for years to come, and who knows what seeds you're sowing in the lives of people, and even older people. Some people walk into the gallery and they're just like, I used to paint when I was younger, I used to sculpt when I was younger, I used to draw when I was younger, and seeing that this is something that people can do and should continue to do is so important to me. So I think that's one way in which I'm making sure that community is at the core of the work that I do.
Education is a brilliant way to navigate access to everyone, because education is not just for children, it's literally for every audience member, from the youngest member who walks into your gallery to the oldest. Naomi, would you like to give your answer a try? Oh, sorry, essay.
I guess you meant
essay. Sorry, guys.
I think I totally agree with what Naomi said, and I actually can't agree more. Like, I also believe that art should be accessible to all, because I got the opportunity to have access to art, even if my parents were not collectors, but just I was lucky enough to be in schools that would take us to exhibitions, or even at uni. I think, if I remember correctly, we had really some teachers who were pushing us to go and try and go to as many events as possible. So I really understand how it has shaped who I am now and how it's beneficial in somebody's development to be able to have access to art. But something else also, I believe it's the community is also all the other people working in the art sector or the artists themselves. So trying to make sure that we maintain a good relationship with everybody working in the art sector when we know how challenging it is and how it doesn't always have a good reputation, maybe, like when you're telling your parents, okay, I'm working in the art sector, or even some friends that they don't necessarily understand what it means, or they don't necessarily have a great opinion for lack of knowledge, I believe. So I guess we all need to support each other in the art sector and make sure that we build a safe community, a respectful community, and also that we try and, how can I put it, maybe try and be aware of the toxic people, because just as in any community, there are we face some issues, and maybe artists are even more vulnerable because they are not necessarily aware of everything related to contracting, to financing, to fundraising, etc. So they are maybe even more vulnerable than any other people and any other community. So I believe it's also to be like my brother's keeper and make sure that if I know this curator is maybe not looking for your interests, but to try and mention it, that you should be aware that working with so and so is maybe not going to favor you. So I think it's just as any, just like if I was a banker, I guess it would be the same. Like I would make sure that my colleague and myself, we have a safe environment, that we build our community, that we exchange opportunities, we exchange tips. So I guess that's how I try in my small space to try to do the best and to develop a community. And also, what we are doing just now, welcome to me, it's also a form of community because you are Edobor in South Africa. Naomi is in Nigeria and I'm in Accra. And we are all connected and we maintain the link since January of last year. So we are also part of community building.
Absolutely. I love that. The idea of being my sister's keeper. Absolutely. I feel like that's, if not an integral part, but it's the foundational part of what it means to be a cultural worker. So on to our next theme, which is titled Branding as Cultural Work. You will both have 30 seconds to answer this question. What you do as a labor of love in your cultural work has the potential to shape you as an individual. So the question is, as a cultural worker, what lessons are you currently learning? Esse, do you want to go first?
I think it's really difficult to build confidence. I really came in the art sector, and so sometimes just to be stronger, it's good to be working with somebody else. Even if you're just two, like you're always stronger two than alone. So, and maybe you're also more efficient because I tend to try and do everything, and then I'm just overwork myself. And I really got to a point last December until now where I'm a bit struggling with my health, but just being overworked for so many months. And looking back, I feel like there's maybe a number of occurrences where I could have worked with some other people and made the work easier, and also maybe empower somebody else, like, oh, let's just work together. I know that you are free and not doing anything, and that will allow me to better organize my time, to rest, but also to just, it's okay, also because I'm growing, like I can't be my agent trying to be doing everything from carrying people to writing and to writing and to doing exhibition statement, curatorial statement, etc. So so it's also for the image you give to people. I think people like to see that you are in charge and that you are able to manage. It also helps them to have trust in you. So I think it's all connected. Being able to read and being able to allow people to work with you, so you can actually implement that routine. Yeah.
Correct. Like, I cannot agree more. I cannot agree more. Naomi?
Honestly, when Essie was speaking, I was just like nodding and laughing because that is the absolute truth. I would always say, find me at the rest side, find me resting. I'm forever resting. I don't take, and this is, when you've experienced something and you realize that these are the things that you need to do and you begin to do them, you see the reason why. And so I've experienced times when I'm just like burnt out and nothing ever comes and nothing good ever comes out from being burnt out. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, there's no energy and you're just like, why am I even doing this, and all of these emotions. So I will always be an advocate for rest. I'm also very big now on asking for help and also just like being vulnerable with the people that I should be vulnerable with. I don't know all the answers and I don't know when I will know all of the answers. I don't even think that a time will come when I will know all the answers. So while I'm still finding the answers to a bunch of things that obviously I'm not, I do not have the knowledge of, I found it very helpful to always ask for help, always allow people help me as well, not just like, asking for help, but allowing myself to receive that help when it's offered. And also just being, rest will be my number one, followed with all of these other things that I've just mentioned. If one thing is that if you don't take rest by yourself, your body will take the rest for you, and you do not want relaxers.
Right. So the next question: we are all affiliated to museums or galleries in one way or another. How do you personally brand yourself outside of the institution that you work for? Naomi, do you want to go first?
It's a very interesting question. And it's a question that's dragging me by my neck. Because, wow, where is the divide? Where is the line? Where is work and where is work-life balance? How do I brand myself? That's a very interesting question. I feel like for the most part of my career, I feel like my career has kind of like branded me in some way, and I find that people don't know me outside of the work that I do. I'm also recently just trying to start up an organization with a friend, and I'm just thinking through those things, like how do I separate? This is something that I was even going to say that I'm going to speak to Essie on this, because I know that she has her corporate work, and then she also has Peace No Be Art. And how has she been able to balance that? So I think that she would actually be the best person to answer this question. But other than that, I find myself on a more, lesser note. I find myself dividing my Instagram pages. I have an Instagram where it's basically just work, and then I have one where it's basically just me goofing around and just being, me. without all of the corporate work and all of these collectors and artists looking at you and saying, oh, why is she doing that? I don't know that there's one way to be a curator. I don't even know if I have that. But yeah, I think that's the way that I've been able to brand myself, and also just like offering. So one thing again that I've also noticed is that because this is a very integral part of your life, which is your corporate life, people tend to ask you questions. So I have friends who are collectors who just like ask me, because it's okay to ask. I mean, you're a curator after all, but I also find that very triggering in the sense that if you're not going to support the work that I do, this is also the work that you're doing as well, and you're asking me all of these questions and I'm giving all of these answers. You should respect time and place with things like this. So some people take this into like your personal life, and I don't know how to draw the line or create a divide, which is something that I'm learning now, and it's something that I will keep learning. But yeah, I think that so far I've not been 100% successful in branding myself outside of the work that I currently do, but I'm going to keep at it. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all about practical steps here. So if the first step is, creating 2 separate Instagram accounts, girl, I think you've done a lot. You have done a lot. Esse, do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I think Naomi is right. Sometimes it takes some small steps, and I think really having different platforms helps a lot. For some time, I've been doing several things, and it's only now that it took time. It took maybe 5 years for me to be able to say, okay, let's be clear. I do 2 things. I do development of hip-hop culture in West Africa, and I do development of contemporary West African art. So it's also, it helps a lot for me not to have this Nobi art, which is a contemporary art, mixed with Yo-Yo Teens, which is the hip-hop platform. So there's really some people who only know me for Yo-Yo Teens, and there are some people who only know me for this Nobi art. I think it's also, even though the art community is not that big in Accra, it still happens that I'm able to separate the two, but it took an effort. At some point, I just had everything. On my phone, you will open my phone, you will have all the various accounts on my phone. So like Creative Twitter, my personal Twitter, this not the art, Instagram, Instagram, my personal Instagram. So it became, and then work also, because I work for some organization. So it became so much. I just had to try and separate everything. And so right now, I'm also gradually realizing that I can't maybe continue working for some other organization when I already have my own organization. So it's time for me to be more confident and just work on that rather than trying to work for other organizations while trying to develop my own, because it's just too much. And I think it takes some small steps, but it does help a lot just to try and have some boundaries. So okay, today I know that I'm specifically working for this hobby art, and I wouldn't let you interrupt what I'm doing. So like at home now we have a phone for your teens, and I have my own for this hobby art. So I think that helps. It's just so I think that helps to just know how to separate stuff, and there's some very easy tool to do it. Also, scheduling helps a lot. So if you know that, okay, the whole of Friday I'm working on this and I'm just scheduling, so then I don't have to go back to it. And then Saturday I do something else. But it's always interesting and it's always a bit difficult, because you are the 2 or you are the 3 things or the 4 things that you do. So it's always a bit difficult. But I think we are in a generation where we have so many tools, so it takes a bit of time, but really, I think Instagram helps a lot to shape your brand and for people to have a better understanding of what you do.
100%. And I mean, from my side, I think what I can offer is, us even starting to think about how we separate ourselves. It all starts in the mind, and if the idea is planted in your mind, then that's one step closer to us figuring out ourselves of how we want to truly create these healthy boundaries. Because you're absolutely right, it is about creating these boundaries, and boundaries can be a healthy thing. So onto our last theme, which is popular culture. So the first question we have is 30 seconds, and the question is, what were your first impressions of the video? Ese, since you're a hip-hop head.
I don't really remember how I felt when I saw the video, but I know the artist because of our activities and just our general love for urban culture. At home, we tend to follow a bit of what's happening in the hip hop culture. So I had actually seen his work, and I think it's a great inspiration because it's an artist that has been really consistent, just producing content every Sunday. And also he has really understood the power of his art, the way he's able to use music and video clip to just empower people, but also to deliver a strong message. It's just amazing for me. Like, I love the level of creativity. I'm also always interested in people, like family business, because you basically see his whole family in the video. I always love consistency because that's something I'm not able to do, so I'm really impressed when I see people able to do it. And also, like, just great delivery. Like, the message is clear, it's beautifully executed. Yeah, it's a very beautiful video.
Absolutely. Naomi, what were your first impressions?
I think that, I like Tobe. I like him a lot. I like his sound. I like his music. And when I saw the video, the first time that I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a very, very strong music video. Great narrative. There's so much beauty in his commitment to craft as well. And that cuts across in the way that his setup is done, in how it's constructed. There's such beauty in his commitment to craft. So I think that those were my first impressions when I saw this video. Yeah.
So I'm glad we're all familiar with Tobe. His mission is to make purpose popular. And with that being said, the theme under popular culture for this particular segment is intentional invitations. So often with our work as curators, we can be accused of perpetuating Western histories by the mere fact that we work in museums. The idea of museums, historically carries with it, the burden of it's being, a cage for cultures, African cultures, and it being this colonial construct, essentially. So as exhibition makers and exhibition curators, how, I'd like to invite us to think of how we create intention in the spaces that we work in, and using Tobe and Migwe and his team, the Black Angels, as an example. I really love the idea of as is mentioned, he incorporates family in his use of choreography through incorporating with his incorporating his wife and then his cousin friend Lanal, and then also the Black Angels as part of the bigger choreography. So I really am impressed by the creative and intellectual thought that has gone into the project. And it is definitely a resource that I would like to incorporate in a classroom when teaching about something as complex as intersectionality. So for our last question tonight, and it gets a whopping 3 minutes on the clock. How do we ensure that the practices that we engage in are ethical as well as intentional to the needs of our communities? That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll actually repeat it one more time. The question is, how do we ensure that the practices we engage in are ethical and intentional to the needs of the communities, to the needs of our communities? Ese, do you want to give it a go?
It's a tough one, especially as curator. Sometimes you're just tempted to do, I love this topic, let me try and work with artists around this topic, when maybe it's not even what is on their mind at the moment. So I think it takes humility. It takes humility to accept that you don't know, and maybe ask people what they need, what they desire, and maybe be present, like be around, know what's going on, know. I'm sorry, I don't really know. I think it's just being open-minded and sensitive and trying to listen, I guess. Yes, being sensitive to what happens to the environment, to the people. That's what I would say. I'm sorry that right now I'm not able to expand more on it, but I think it's because it's work in progress that I'm learning. Because I'm learning how to navigate and how to make it happen, basically.
No, that's more than enough. Thank you. Naomi?
I honestly say this is one question that I think should be printed on a shirt. And it's one question that I think that I would go back to time and time again just to keep me grounded. So I think that I don't even know how to, approach the answer. Making sure that we are good people, and that's very vague in the sense that, what is good and what is bad really, and all of those questions. Just making sure that the work that you're doing, you're not doing it for the reasons that, will hurt the other person or will hurt the people that are doing the work with you. Making sure that you're introspecting a lot and asking yourself all of these questions. Why are you doing the work that you're doing? Who are you doing the work that you're doing for? Are you the only person that's going to gain from this? Why would you be the only person to gain from this? How are you serving? Because we all want to be leaders. But we need to know that you also need to serve, because in some way, and I'm speaking about this from a place of spirituality and faith, and just like making sure that you're grounded in all of that, like whatever it is that you practice, making sure that your soul is at peace at night when you go to bed. You're able to sleep. You're not thinking that someone's going to come for me or they're going to come and cut my head off, and all of those questions and all of those thoughts that you know, because we all know all of these things. We know when we're not being ethical. We know when our intentions are far left. We know all of these things. So listening to yourself, listening to your spirit, and just making sure that you're doing the things that you're meant to be doing in the way that you should be doing them. I'm very big on, spreading love to everyone that's around you. Even if you're surrounded by, negativity and everything. I know it can be hard, but just making sure that you're giving as much love, and you're just being light, as well. So, like Ese said, it's something that you just keep checking. Just keep ensuring that the practices that you're engaging in are good. Yeah.
100%. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So we have come to the last slide. And here at Welcome to We like to explore alternative means of gratitude. So to say thank you for your participation, Welcome to We, under Empowering the Art, will donate 1,000 Rand to a cultural organization of your choice. It's not much, but in these trying times, a little goes a long way. So, Naomi, Ese, have you made your decision?
Yes.
You want to share your organization with us again?
Okay, it's called Soul 6, and it's a woman artist collective based in Ghana. And we want to support because they are at the initial stages of the organization, and I guess that's when you need the most support. And they are about to do an exhibition very soon, so I'm sure it will become at the perfect time. The money will come at the perfect time.
Correct. Yay. That is brilliant. Thank you so much, ladies, for your contribution, for your time, for your experience.
Thank you.
You have been brilliant.